Great little trivia fact there.
Good. Tell that at stories. All right, parties. Tell that story at parties.
Tell that at stories.
I tell that at stories. Yeah, well, it's going to be one of those podcasts. What's going on, everyone? This is the Aggie Game Day Extra Podcast. I'm KBTX Senior Texas A&M sports writer Travis Brown, alongside the usual cast of misfits. Over there, Chief Meteorologist Max Crawford.
Hello.
And over there, Sports Director Tyler Shaw.
Hey.
How's it going, gentlemen? It is... So this room that we record this in, we have talked about it frequently. Usually the air conditioning goes out in here, so it is very, very hot.
Not today.
It feels like a walk-in freezer today.
I'm not going to complain about it.
No, I just grabbed a jacket.
Travis wearing his jacket.
Yeah. I will take this a million times over the oven that it normally is.
Yeah. So, you know.
Sometimes the takes get a little hot in here. And so does the temperature.
Oh, no. We're recording on a Tuesday. This will probably still come out on a Wednesday, but we are recording on a Tuesday just because of schedules and stuff. You're going a little vacay.
Yeah, real quick one.
Getting to
real quick one.
Do the beautiful beaches of Galveston.
Galveston. That's all I can think about. Then that dirty water.
You gonna go to the Rainforest Cafe? We talked about this.
Is this Charles Barkley?
Yeah.
I think it's Charles Barkley, but it doesn't.
Where they going, Chuck? They're going to Galveston.
That was probably one of. I mean, there's a lot of good bits from that show,
think,
but that's one of the top.
I think it might.
That's got to be top 5.
Y'all can't go to Cancun. Y'all drive to Galveston.
We have you seen The Shallows, the movie with, I think was it Blake Lively? It's a shark movie.
No,
I'm pretty sure
I don't
seen like
know.
every shark
And
movie.
you know what? I'm taking my kids to the beach, so I don't really.
We're not talking about the sharks. Just at the end of the movie, she goes to her hometown, which is Galveston, Texas, and it like faded to black, and then it comes in this beautiful white sand beach with blue clear water and palm trees, and then at the bottom it flashed Galveston, Texas, and I saw it at the Cinemark in Bryan, and there was like 20 people in the theater, and everyone just started dying laughing. So
they get really, really crystal clear blue water sometimes, but honestly, that usually
at the Rainforest Cafe.
Sure. Okay. Maybe we should go there. That's a good idea.
Do be careful of the jellyfish, though. I've had my run-in with jellyfish.
You gotta watch out for the jellies.
Granted, the last time I was there, it was like right before a hurricane blew through.
So the jellies were probably like, "Hey."
I think they were all on the coast.
Did you have to do the Friends episode remedy?
I'm not aware of this one.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh well, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, we'll just let that one lie right there.
I think you're talking about what
Yeah.
No, I did not do that.
Okay, well,
that's good.
Good.
I'm glad you didn't have to.
I don't think is that a myth though. Like,
I think it is mythical.
Like I don't think I would even try that. There are
no,
other
Travis,
things.
would you not?
There
use
are other
Gemini
things
/ Chat GPT for once in your life.
I could put.
I don't use either of those. Thank you.
It's all about gray eye.
It's all about gray eye.
That's right. Yes, that's true.
I don't think I would ever resort to that. It wasn't terrible. My daughter got stung, and like pretty sure she still has those scars. It was like 2 years ago.
Yes. Google AI says that
it's a myth.
It's a myth. Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh, well, I don't normally use AI, so just gray eye.
Right. Gray eye.
Gray eye.
Support.
Yeah.
Which is a version of Claude, but.
You are quite the AI expert over here.
Well, if it's going to take over my job one day, I better know how it works.
I'll just roll over and,
accept your fate.
Bend the knee.
Let's talk about sports.
Okay.
What do you say?
You don't want to live in this existential AI world.
I don't want to talk about sharks and jellyfish and AI.
Let's go to the headlines. Okay.
Thank you.
And Max, we'll bring you back in, make you happy because
ice cream or something.
we still have Bucky McMillan.
Yeah, it's my man.
It's May, and
he's saying, "Hey, don't go to the beach."
He's either saying, "I hate the fact that the NCAA tournament is expanding to 76 teams," or this is the greatest thing that's ever happened. We don't know yet.
This is what I'm jumping ahead here, but this is what Tyler and I were talking about last week. This is the best news if you are a big name school head coach. Because I think that is what this was made for, is your excuse me, is your A&Ms, your TCUs, your Arizona States,
Auburn this year,
your Auburns, like who were on the bubble and you're sweating it out come late February to all of a sudden be like, yeah, you're in. And for all these coaches to be able to be like, yeah, I made the tournament this year. Like, that is what it is for. It is for brand name schools to go into the tournament and say that they are in and to bring more money
Think
to
of
this
the,
event.
you know how this is like school X has, this
Right.
number of tournament appearances.
Yeah.
That number's just going to skyrocket.
Right.
Because if you're a bubble team, you're getting in because
It is-
there's almost a non-existent bubble.
It
at
is
this
not
point.
going to matter anymore. If it meant more mid-majors got in and like had their shot, like totally, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think you're going to see a lot more of these like Power 4 schools who probably shouldn't have been in the tournament are now going to get in.
But even then, is this even counting? Because I guess you kind of count the first 4 teams in the tournament, but the first 4 is just such a afterthought to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Basically, what they're adding in here is just expanding the first 4.
Right.
So are we even really going to consider? I mean, I guess
Technically, they will.
technically, yeah.
I
but
feel like for my sake, you got to make the 64 field. The teams.
if you can still have the brackets are not closed in your bracket pool until after those games, you're not in the NCAA tournament.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we'll have to see how the bracket
It's like
pools.
a play-in game to get into the NCAA tournament.
That's the way it should be considered. So,
Yeah.
Tyler, go for the people. Explain a little bit what this is supposed to look like.
Yeah. Well, to what it is. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a 68 team field last year, as what it has been, because it's 64 plus the 4 play-in games. They've just essentially expanded that play-in kind of the first 4 to 24 teams now. So there will be 76 teams, or is that right?
Yeah.
So there will be 12 different games, and it's going to be in 2 different sites. So Dayton has always been the site. I think they're still going to use Dayton, but there's going to be another place too. So they're going to have this will be a Tuesday and a Wednesday of the NCAA tournament, because Thursday's the big day where the first round games start. So Tuesday, Wednesday, you're going to have 12 games spread across those 2 days. That those 24 teams are essentially going to play each other to get into a seed line. So you have like 2 9 seeds that are going to play to become the 9 seed that'll play an 8 in the tournament, or 2
So
11s.
A&M this past year would have been a first 4 team, whatever we're going to call this opening.
They could be, yeah.
Yeah, probably most likely, because I think they were the last 9 seed. Yes. Now I'm
You're
anyway.
yeah. But historically, A&M's kind of been in that position a lot.
Right.
Where they've kind of been on that. And, like to Max's point, yeah, a lot of these, big brand names that aren't necessarily a powerhouse in basketball are going to have their shot pretty much every year. Because you don't have to worry about, making that field of 64. I mean, you got 24 other spots that you could essentially be in.
There's part of me that's like, okay, then you should at least expect to make that field in perpetuity. And there's another part of me that's like, okay, well, that means that entire week is nothing but like basketball on in the middle of the day, and so like that's cool.
It's
True.
great for TV.
Oh,
But that's
yeah.
about the only person
You
that it's
get-
great
Right.
for.
What, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday? That's 6 days in a row. That's basically not wall-to-wall coverage of basketball.
Yeah. And I suppose that could be pretty cool, but at the same time, I'm just like, look, it was already such a huge field anyway.
Uh-huh.
You don't want to dilute the product.
It was
And-
such a good product.
Yeah.
To
Exactly.
The-
That was kind of one of the one things that you're like, okay, can we not mess with this? Like the college football playoff expansion. This is apples to oranges, but like most people, not everybody, a lot of people wanted to expand from 4 to something. And now, that we've hit this slippery slope of 12, we're going to go to something else or whatever. But like 64 was fine. It was great.
Yeah.
In fact, it was like one of the best postseason formats in sports.
But you
made the regular season matter.
Right. But you hit the nail on the head. Everybody's favorite part of the NCAA tournament is for opening weekend.
Yeah.
And you basically extended the opening weekend by 2 days so that you have even more basketball. I will be curious to see. For me, even when we're covering these things, usually, unless there's a really important reason to, the first four was something that I kind of tracked on the ESPN app while I was going about my business.
I was never really into the first four
because it didn't really, and a lot of times we're traveling during that, so it doesn't even really matter. But is this going to be something that people tune into? And what a logistical nightmare, because now you have teams that are going to be coming home maybe from their conference tournaments on Saturday, or maybe in the case of the SEC, not even coming home from the conference tournament. I mean, you Sunday at, what is it, usually about 7 or 8 p.m. is when they finally kind of get the full roster out there. If you're a team that's playing on Tuesday, I mean, I guess you fly home from Nashville just enough time to unload and load your suitcase, and then fly out to wherever you're going for maybe a Tuesday game, to then turn around and then fly to, I know this is kind of a belabored point, and people are, it's kind of dumb to talk about songs, but when are these guys going to class?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, yeah,
it is. Yeah, I get it, but what a logistical nightmare. And then, of course, because it's all about us, covering that would be a logistical nightmare.
Yeah, we've already kind of talked that's going to make coverage very difficult. Does this essentially kill the NIT at this point?
I mean, you'd think you'd have to,
because the only draw of the NIT is you have some big brand names that are exciting to tune into, to watch, that just weren't quite good enough to make the field, but to see them make a run. All those teams are going to be in this.
Right.
You make a good point. And what I'd like, what maybe would make things interesting, is if they held off on putting the NIT bracket out there, and maybe allowing some of the teams that lose in that first round a chance into the NIT. Now, how many would accept that? I don't know, but I think that would make things a little bit more interesting.
Sure.
Maybe some NIT seeding going on in that first round, depending on how games go or whatnot. I don't know.
Yes, perhaps.
Perhaps.
I don't know.
You're gonna like it because you're gonna like watching.
Right. I think very well 11 months from now I could be like, you know what, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think that is entirely possible.
We'll go ahead and stick here with some more basketball because Bucky.
There he is.
We hadn't really fully gone into the ins and outs of the fact that A&M men's basketball is up to 14 players now. The roster limit's 15, so they really only have one space left if they want to. There's one last-minute portal guy or something like that to fill that role. We can take a look here at, this is what we have right now on KBTX.com. They needed guards, and they went out and got guards. In this, of course, the biggest one that is going to be the question is Bryson Warren, who is coming out of the G League, if that's going to be able to stick. And we've talked about that a little bit, but I don't know. They have some scoring on here. They get Mackenzie McBacco back, which I think is huge forward, but I don't know. We didn't know what we were expecting out of last year's team, and it turned out to be pretty good. Maybe a similar situation here?
Yeah, and I think there's more known now this year, just because you do have some pieces coming back, but really the most important pieces, other than Mbako, is coming out of the portal. So it's really going to be, is Bryson Warren going to be eligible to play? Who does, PJ Haggerty, what does he bring? How does he fit the mold of Bucky Ball? You got to assume, the fact that they went out and recruited him and got him out of the portal, that they think he's going to thrive in this system. I mean, he put up a lot of points at Kansas State. They have scoring. They have a lot of talent in the backcourt. So I would say they're kind of on track to be where they were, if not a little bit better than last year.
Okay, Max, does this roster get the heart pumping?
Yeah, I think so, and just that it seems that it was done with tact, and if you're confident in the selections that Bucky made last year with the limited amount that he had to work with, and you have to just kind of let go and let Bucky on this one too. So Yeah, I think
Let's
it's
go and let Bucky.
I think it's just a
Set on your
situation
kitchen
where
wall.
you got to relearn the roster every year. But we have some familiar faces there still, like with Clements and Mbako, obviously. And so yeah, you return some key pieces, and it looks like you got some real scorers in the portal. So yeah, you just gotta hope that they stay healthy and are able to adapt to Bucky Ball, especially when it comes to his defense, as well as the first round of guys did. And I feel like you have to know what you're getting into.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'll be curious to see. I think that they replaced a good amount of the top end scoring with what they have here, and then the return of Mbako. I don't know if they're as deep as the team it was last year, where they could roll some guys out there, especially at the guard position, and it might not have been, they might have maintained the same level of scoring, but at times it certainly wasn't a net negative, or they were able to get some guys some rest, kind of maintain, and then get those guys back out there. I don't know if I see the same amount of depth at guard this year, but we also kind of don't know what they have in some of these guys. So it'll be interesting. I'm kind of going into the season with that being the biggest question mark in my mind is, do they have the depth that they can roll out 9 or 10 guys rotations like they did last year, or if it's going to be a smaller, shorter rotation this season. So we'll just have to wait and see on that with Texas A&M men's basketball. Women's tennis advanced to the Super Regional. Men's tennis season ends in the NCAA second round. This was a part of a massive weekend this week in Aggie land. Women's tennis just kind of continues to trudge along and do the exact same things that we've seen them do the past few years.
Yeah, it's their 7th tournament in a row. I can't say year because COVID there wasn't a tournament, but 7th tournament in a row that they've made it to the Super Regional. They made it all the way to the national championship match the last 2 years. It'll be different this tournament around because the last 2 years, 2 years ago, they won it all. They beat Georgia. It was a rematch last year. Georgia got the better of them. This year, they're set to face Georgia in the semifinals if they make it that far. So if they are going to go 3 for 3, making it to the national championship match, they're going to have to take down number 1 Georgia before then.
And that has been quite the battle between those two programs.
It has been quite the battle. And it is in Athens this year when they make it to the Final Four.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to do it on their home court. So, yeah, I think that'll be the match. Whoever... Assuming there aren't any other upsets and A&M and Georgia kind of get through this weekend and they meet each other in the semifinals, I think that will kind of be more of your national championship caliber match. Whoever comes out of that side of the bracket. So
absolutely,
that'll be interesting.
And then SEC baseball tournament announced yesterday, pretty late in the game, that they're going to use. They got NCAA approval to use ABS balls and strikes systems in the SEC tournament in Hoover here in a couple of weeks. It'll be interesting. They believe it's going to be 3 challenges aside per game.
And you get to keep your challenge if you get it right.
Keep your challenge if you get it right. Some interesting stats being bounced around there on the interwebs right now about the fact that NCAA pitching is certainly not to the same level as MLB pitching. There are more walks issued in college baseball than there is in the MLB, and is tightening the strike zone even more going to be a positive thing for things like pace of play, just the overall game, or is it going to be something that is making somewhat of an already hard job on pitchers even harder for this tournament, especially when you do these things that get thrown in? It's not the way that it's been the entire regular season. It's not going to be the way that it's going to be in the NCAA tournament. They're just doing it this one weekend. Is that too much of a weird rules change to have one important week out of the entire season have different rules?
I could see this becoming the standard eventually. Was it last year in the tournament that they introduced the double first base?
Still
I think
dumb.
It was, yeah.
Still dumb.
Okay,
dumb
but
rule.
they use
They
it.
did.
I think it was in Hoover where they
did.
They experimented with it in Hoover, and now that's
they
standard.
experimented with it. I believe it was in non-conference games last year too.
Yeah, that's fair. So I think that's where it's trending. The fact that they're introducing it in the SEC tournament, leads me to believe that this is where the sport is going. And yeah, you can say what you want about, what is this going to do to a pitcher's game? What is this going to do to pace of play? Which I'm all about helping the pace of play in baseball. But I mean, if they're doing it at the MLB, some of these things trickle down, and these guys are becoming more and more like pros, anyways, as it is. I don't know.
It's a different. To me, and I don't necessarily have the numbers to back this up right in front of me, but college baseball is a little bit harder on the pitchers because you have metal bats, guys who could be up in AA, AAA tomorrow, who are using metal bats that are exponentially more forgiving, especially when you talk about taking it off the handle or the end of the bat. Than they are in the pros, where if you throw a fastball up in the handle, it's going to break a bat, not fall in for a bloop single or something like that. And so when you look at those instances where you're coming inside, you're trying to go low and away, things that I don't know. I don't know if I like it at the college level, but there's plenty. I know college baseball fans who have not been or not happy with the balls and strikes calls of college umpires and will potentially like it. I don't know. I think we're probably going to get into this a little bit with our conversation in a second. I am a bit of a baseball purist in these things, and I think that there, more so than a lot of sports, there is a human element more so in baseball than in other sports, because you do have the officials getting involved in every single throw of every single game. I like the challenge system. I like that it's not just robot umpire.
Right.
But I don't know. As we move, I like the human element in the game a little bit, and I think that it is taking something away. I mean, the pace of play things when it comes to like pitch comms and things, I know are great, but the whole elimination of basically signals in the sport of baseball, there was a whole subculture, and I'm not talking about the illegal sign stealing, but actually like having guys in the dugout who are over there trying to focus in to pick off. That was part of baseball that just isn't a part of the game anymore. Or catchers, calling games and things like that. That isn't a part of the game anymore. So, I don't know. Max, you have any thoughts?
A lot of teams don't even care about the conference tournament anymore anyway.
That's
so you might
very
as well,
true.
You might as well just try it. Like, watch.
Yeah.
Texas and Georgia both are going to be first round exits. Maybe Georgia won't, but just knowing our old head man, if they get behind early,
consequential tournament week.
Yeah. And like I say that, very well may see something similar happen to A&M, assuming we finish well.
Yeah.
Then you might not see us very long.
Especially with
their
bullpen. I don't think you want to burn through
exactly.
too many arms
so
that week.
I say
you're not playing your way out of whatever positioning you were in leading into the tournament by
so you might as well
losing early.
But like if you're, if you're trying to fight for a national seed or something like that, maybe you do see more effort there. But again, nobody really cares, so might as well try it.
Fair.
I'm going to watch. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But
you brought up the human element. I like because this isn't robot umpires. This isn't every single pitch is going to be determined by this electronic system. I like that it's the challenge system. 'Cause it's just kind of like instant replay. That used to not be a thing in every sport, but now it is a thing in sport.
And every stadium already has TrackMan built into their systems. There's kids, managers, whatever, up in the press boxes who are watching all of the exit velocity numbers and the spin rates of the pitchers and the balls and strikes. I know there was a controversial call that Michael Early got thrown out of the game. We'll talk about that against Auburn that TrackMan in the stadium said was a strike.
Well, and that's the thing. If there is a very consequential call and the umpire gets it wrong, I'd like to see that corrected. I get there's the human element, but if there is just a single pitch that could, sway what happens, let's say it's, bottom of the ninth and, bases are loaded and he's, said, that's a, strike three ends the game and it wasn't, or vice versa. I'd like to see, teams use a challenge and get it corrected. So that's kind of where I stand on that.
Over 40 years ago, my parents started C&J Barbecue, and today we continue to honor Dad's legacy with the best barbecue in the Brazos Valley. With locations on Harvey Road, Southwest Parkway, and our newest location on William J. Bryan, we carry on our family tradition of serving up award-winning barbecue, sides, and desserts. We also offer delivery, catering, as well as custom menus and private chef services. Come visit us today for some of the best barbecue around. C&J Barbecue. The C is for Chip, the J is for Joe, and the barbecue is for you.
Well, let's go ahead and get into the conversation today, and that is the busy weekend in Aggieland. It started with A&M baseball and softball getting rained out really on Friday. Well, really, you want to back it up. It started Thursday with Savannah Bananas. Then it went into Friday with baseball and softball getting rained out, and tennis, moving to Saturday that had everything in it, from baseball to softball to tennis to Savannah Bananas. And then the baseball series got wrapped up with on a high note against Auburn. Where do we want to start, boys? I have baseball, softball, Savannah Bananas queued up here. What do you think? I mean, I think
I think get your banana ball stuff out of the way.
Yeah, I think banana ball was a interesting part of all of it.
Sure.
Max, you were there?
Nope.
You were not there?
I was not.
Did you watch? Did y'all do?
We tried. We tried to watch, and we decided I don't want to mentally invest in the difference between runs and points. And so that was the point where I said, okay, I'm out. Okay. And again, I'm not a hater. I want everybody to know that I am not a hater, but I tried, and I lost interest pretty quickly. And I said, I'm sure everybody there is having a good time. And then I turned it off.
I look at it this way, and to that, it is entertainment, and it is a lot of fun, and I applaud what they do. They do a great job of what they do. I don't think it's the kind of sport that I would follow and be invested in, like, how'd the Bananas do tonight?
Right.
Oh, shoot, they lost to the Tailgaters. Like,
yeah.
I don't think I'd be tracking the standings and. Just like any other sports league that you kind of look, watch the box scores and watch the games when you can. Yeah, I don't think it's something I would catch on TV.
Yeah.
But to have it in your town and to be at the event, I think that's fun.
100%. Can 100% agree with that. I just wasn't a part of it. I wasn't there, and so I just didn't quite understand it. And again, I think it's really, really cool. Echo everything that Tyler just said. Nicole Griffith, a former friend of the podcast, texted me and said, looks like the home team's having trouble winning at Kyle again. And I said, Nicole, how dare you? And that's it.
Well, it all kind of started Thursday night. And this was actually, Tyler, I might speak for you here, but you can correct me. Thursday night was actually, I think, the cooler piece to all of this when it comes to Banana Ball, and that's that they did a pop-up game for 1,000 fans at Navasota High School. Brazos Valley Bombers played a big part in helping them organize all of it. And it was pretty much the whole experience, but at a micro level. And that was really cool to watch.
Yeah. No, 100%. And that, my family was able to go there and watch as fans, and because they weren't able to go Saturday. So I think this was awesome to get that experience. But yeah, I mean, it was... because it was so intimate, I mean, the players were interacting with the fans. They were, some of the dancers were playing around with James on the, in the bleachers. I mean, it's just kind of something.
There he is.
Speaking of, just hanging out on the.
Wasn't the banana baby though?
Yeah. No, it should have been the banana baby. But yeah, just something I guess you don't get when there's 100,000 people in Kyle Field.
Yeah. And to me, there you go. This is the thing that I feel like I could talk about for a lot longer. And I've been a little dismissive about this part of the pod, and I don't mean to be. But one thing that can get me riled up in a good way is to talk about this element of it. Like the fact that they committed to doing a pop-up and like kind of opening it up and saying like, hey, first come, first serve, like come check this out.
Too.
Yeah.
It was free. Like that is how you sustain yourself as a good business, and that's how you cultivate like an organic following. Obviously it's there's some like twerking in the video that we're showing here, but for the most part, it's family friendly. And like it's a good time. Like when you're there, you kind of understand it a lot better than whenever you're just watching it on TV or whatever. And then you cap it off by another like pop-up concert afterward. It starts raining a little bit. Like I think everybody that was there that night would tell you that there is a little bit of magic in the air. And this world needs a little bit more of that. And I think that's the MO of Yellow Tuxedo Guy. I forget his name. But like
Jesse Cole,
that's what he wants. Like he wants to inject a little bit of happiness and goofiness into people's lives, and the fact that it was like a non-exclusive, exclusive, inclusive, whatever you want to call it, like event where it was just like, hey, just get here, it's free. That's so cool. Like so much new respect for this organization than before. The Kyle Field thing is cool, but to me, honestly, that thing that happened on Friday was a lot cooler.
Part of our job is analyzing and breaking down A&M sports and everything, but part of our job as local TV station is documenting, kind of time capsuling things that happen in this community. And the game at Kyle Field was something, but I felt like, to your point, Max, when it comes to something that's really like a time capsule piece to this community, the Navasota game was exponentially more of that. Mm. That remember that time that the Savannah Bananas, this $1 billion industry that plays Kyle Field and Yankee Stadium, played Navasota High School, and the All-American Rejects did a pop-up concert at
right.
That's something that in 30 years people are going to be like, wait, what? That doesn't compute. That doesn't register. I agree with you, Max. I think that okay. We talked about it earlier. I'm an old school baseball guy, and there's part of me that's like, what is this doing to baseball? A little bit. But then you go to the games and you see the kids, like the 2nd to 5th grade kids who just are eating up every minute of this, and they aren't off on the side playing catch with their buddies. They are like focused in on everything that is happening on the field. They aren't on mom's cell phone or anything and that's just like something that you don't see anymore. That you had 2 hours of like undivided attention from Gen Alpha or whatever the youngest of them are now, or Gen Z or millennials for that matter, because we all can lose focus. That it was like nonstop, can't take your eyes away from everything that's going on. And there are kids out there who I would venture, especially the kids who play Little League baseball and play travel baseball kind of in that age group and maybe a little bit older. They know the difference between real baseball and banana ball. But man, like I don't see, it seems like those kids were getting really fired up for baseball and what was going on there. And that can't be anything but good. So I think absolutely huge net positive for everything that was going on with Banana Ball this weekend, especially the Navasota thing. I know James got a Texas Tailgaters apron. Is he going to be grilling anytime soon? Maybe
we're
smoking
working
some,
on that, but
smoking some pork butt.
Yeah.
So that was, and then Kyle Field, of course, was epic. They had, I feel really bad for the guy who had to do the longest walk up ever. He started in the top corner of like the 400 level and basically did all of the stairs of the entire upper deck of Kyle Field before coming down for an at-bat late in the game. He needs to be paid extra. That's overtime hazard pay for sure. You got the Dude Perfect guys coming out, taking a pinch hitting at bat. It was just an all-around net positive. The only thing I heard was a little hard. If you were sitting up in the 400 levels, it was a little hard to hear. And so when you're getting the explanation of this is how the rules of this game are, hard to hear that. So therefore, kind of hard to figure out where you are in the game. But, there's a ton of other stuff to capture the attention and the imagination. And so everybody left with big smiles on their faces, and I really think that's the main goal of this whole thing. Yeah. So good on them.
I would say that the only negative, because it isn't, net positive, I echo everything you say, is what it may have done to the other Aggie sports that day.
Yeah, that's what we call in the industry a segue, transition.
Yes.
Good job.
Yeah.
Let's start with let's start with Aggie softball because they were the ones who actually played first. They had a game Thursday night while Banana Ball was going on in Navasota against number 1 Oklahoma. That was a game that looked like Oklahoma was destined to win. Lightning came in the 6th, forced that game to continue early Friday morning.
They finished the game Friday.
And they ended up scoring 6 runs in the 6th, and they won that game, surprisingly. But that was the only game that they would win in the series, with Oklahoma taking the other 2 games. But they've beaten what, 3 number 1 teams they've taken at least 1 game from this season. So, that should put them firmly in contention for hosting, if not maybe still keep them in that national seed conversation. They didn't take the series, but taking a game helps the old RPI.
Yeah. I mean, their strength of schedule and everything is ridiculous just by playing in the SEC and the competition they've played. It's interesting. The fact that they lost, I don't know if we're talking national seed. The last kind of mock I saw had them, of course, as a 12 seed, and the 5 seed of who they would match up with in the Supers is, of course, Texas. So we'll see if the NCAA committee tries to do that again. I don't know. I don't know if another SEC tournament run will help them. Like last year, they were named co-champions. But yeah, they've got that this week. See if that helps them at all.
Texas A&M right now, as of Tuesday, sits number 16 in RPI. Which would be right on the fringe there of hosting. But usually for an SEC team heading into an SEC tournament, like you said, that's a decent place to be. But it would be a pretty uphill battle for hosting. But it is an A&M team that early in the season didn't look all that competitive at times with some of these better teams, and now is right in the game, as you see with all of these games close, with A&M also winning that first one. Pitching seems to have kind of settled in a little bit with this team. Yeah,
I mean, that's a really good offensive hitting team in Oklahoma, and they kind of held them at bay for most of the weekend. So even though they lost series, I thought it was pretty impressive.
Max, you have family up in Oklahoma. They aren't the Oklahoma. Well, they are. Some of them are the Oklahoma fans. How dialed in were you to this series?
Well, most of them are. I mean, 2 Aggie in-laws, but had a son that went to OU, and so including a family friend who played softball at OU back when Lauren Chamberlain was there. That's a good old Sooner there. Yeah, they started following OU softball at a really good time, obviously. And so I've kind of got a family of OU softball fans. And I suppose if there is one OU team that I kind of closet root for, it probably is OU softball, but obviously not in this situation. Like I was rooting like hell for A&M, especially after that first game. I was like, okay, like we're playing with the big boys now, and obviously we are capable of beating them. So, man, I honestly can't remember because I watched like both of the games. I can't remember which one of them it was. I was like, we just got to hang in there and get this win. I think it was the first of the doubleheader, but we didn't. And OU is really, really hard to beat, and that's really all there is to it. But I kind of like the going into the postseason with a chip on your shoulder, considering the way that last year went. I think a lot of those players on the team know what can happen in an instant if you're not careful, right? And so I would be pretty surprised if they're not hosting, national seed notwithstanding, but I think at least they'll host a regional, and I don't think it's – I can just see it being a type of situation. Yeah, we might get a sneaky 2 seed in there, but I can just see them running away with it and taking some really good energy all the way to the Supers at least. Like I'm not just locking these girls in for a trip to Oklahoma City, but they understand the stakes, right? There's a lot of proven talent on that team, including from the Oklahoma State transfers and stuff like that like understand that now it's crunch time, and you've got to embrace every at bat and stuff like that. So yeah, I feel pretty good. Like I'm confident, even if we're not hosting our own super regional. I think these girls can do some cool things still.
I think my favorite part about that first game is that at Thursday night, A&M was wearing the white uniforms. Oklahoma was wearing the kind of the grayish, the dark gray uniforms. And when they rolled back out Friday to finish that game, A&M was wearing the dark gray uniforms in Oklahoma. So they switched uniforms mid-game, switched uniform colors. And then they didn't end up actually playing again Friday because we had all of that rain. Baseball, kind of a similar situation with them, but in reverse. They go out there. Oh, that is... I didn't put. Well, we'll just ignore the Oklahoma on there because it should say Auburn. But they went out and got blown out by Auburn, 18-5 in the first one. Texas A&M then wins the last one, 4-3. That Saturday game was a doubleheader, a little bit closer, 5-4 there in the second game. But that was a top 10 matchup. Interesting that Auburn they came into this with one of the best pitching staffs in the country, but especially in that first game, it was the bats that really showed up, and then things kind of settled in. I mean, we've talked about this a couple times. It was another rough outing for Shane Sadeo, who went into the second inning. Is this something that you feel like they need to finally kind of look at and address?
I do. I don't think the getting blown out is too concerning, just because stuff like this happens in baseball all the time, and honestly has not happened a lot for A&M this year. I guess the two worst series they've looked are against Georgia and Auburn, and both those are really good baseball teams. Mm-hmm. They've taken care of business everywhere else, so that part's not concerned. But the fact that it is another rough outing for Shane Sadeo, I do think they need to kind of address that, get that fixed. Now, in Michael Early's eyes, maybe he wants to keep rolling them out Friday and, have maybe maybe he's kind of playing the matchups, have kind of a stronger pitcher on that Saturday to secure that win. But if you keep rolling with this, I find it hard getting through let's say they advance the supers. I'd find it hard getting past the super regional, winning a 3-game series against a really good team with the pitching staff the way they're rolling right now.
They don't need to make a run in the SEC tournament.
No.
But if you want to make a run in the SEC tournament, or you get stuck in the situation where you lose a game in the regional and have to come out of the losers bracket, you're going to need a lot more than 2 pitchers. And really right now, consistency-wise, A&M only has one. That's an Aiden Sims, who actually took his first loss of the season this weekend. It was Weston Moss, who had a good third game. I don't, Gavin Lyons would be the natural option to slide into the starting rotation because of kind of his performance. He is also 8-0 with a 4.02 ERA, but I think why he's been so effective is because of how he is because of coming out of the bullpen. He throws a large percentage of fastballs from that low arm angle and relies a lot on swing and miss from guys. It's one of those things where guys have seen an over-the-top fastball, a strong pitch mix from Shane Sadeo, one of these starters, and what makes him more effective is coming in, and now they're seeing this weird arm angle. Their timing is all off. The movement on the fastball is completely different. He sets up better after a starting pitcher, in my mind, than necessarily going out there and being the number one guy. If you're going to last a long time in any baseball game as a starting pitcher, you need to have a good pitch mix to be able to keep guys off balance, maybe hold some pitches until later, second, third time through the batting order, so they haven't seen those things yet per se. And Gavin Lyons has been so fastball heavy that I don't know if he's the best option. But then once you look at that, I think they were really trying to push Grant Cunningham to maybe be that guy as another starter, and he's had mixed outcomes as well. How concerned are you with A&M's pitching and what maybe they should do moving forward?
Plenty concerned. I honestly probably not as concerned as I was at the beginning of the year, because that's what all we were talking about is, we know the bats are going to be there. And to me, for a lot of the season the pitching has come up pretty clutch, and I think it's pretty obvious. You're talking about switching up the pitches and things like that. Like, obviously that's beyond my ball knowledge as a non-pitcher, but I almost feel like, because you don't want to say don't mess with what works, because obviously that's not really working right this second. But I do tend to agree with you that says maybe you just keep that rotation for now. You get through the rest of the regular season, see if Sadeo can't pitch out of a couple of situations. But obviously, I think you would give a shorter leash than what we did on the first day of that doubleheader. And maybe if it wasn't a doubleheader, we would not have made that decision. Like, I don't know. To me, going into the mind of what the coaches are thinking in that situation, to me, it was almost like, okay, well, we just gave up 8 runs. What are we going to do for the rest of the day? So we might as well keep Sadeo in, that kind of thing. And maybe that's what they were thinking. I don't know. But I don't really know what the fix is, because you were hoping on counting on Sadeo being your ace, and it just doesn't seem like he has that right this second. And so, to be completely honest, I don't know. Like, do you count on your guys to keep you in the game no matter what, as far as bats are concerned, and just kind of roll with that? What was it? Two more series left, right? Mm-hmm. One of which is at home. You haven't switched up yet, so I don't really see why he would at this point.
I mean, he kind of said the quiet part out loud a little bit, Michael, early, that is, when we asked him about this the last time, midway through the Vanderbilt series, or after the first game of the Vanderbilt series. And he kind of said, I mean, it's a personnel issue, because they didn't hit on some of the targets that they needed to in the transfer portal to bring in that good top-of-the-line arm or a starting rotation kind of guy. But they also knew that Shane Sadeo was going to be a rotational guy early. I don't think they would have expected the kind of up-and-down performance that they've necessarily had from him this year. So I don't think... I mean, honestly, I think the answer is I don't think they have another starting pitcher to replace him with.
Yeah.
That is going... That maybe Shane Sadeo at his average is probably as good as any other guy at their best right now, bringing them in. Now, I think the thing that they could look at is if you bump Aiden Sims up to Friday, you bump Weston Moss up to Saturday, you put an opener out there with Shane Sadeo, maybe a Juan Vargas or an Ethan Darden. I don't think you burn Gavin Lyons that quickly, but you let him get through the lineup once, and then you roll Sadeo out there, let him kind of get into the feel of the game a little bit, have a nice long 2 innings or something to warm into the game. Maybe that's an option for Sunday, and let Sadeo just kind of find his footing that way.
And maybe that's how you approach the rest of the season too, because you're thinking, okay, well, we get into these regional and super regional matchups. Maybe you do put your best dudes out front, so that maybe you don't have to worry about getting to who that Sunday starter was. Like, if you're in the supers, you want to win that first game, right?
Oh, yeah.
And obviously, if you win the first game, you want to win the second one. So if you do it that way, I mean, obviously, it's like, yeah, we better win the first 2, and then you don't have to worry about it. But maybe that is what the strategy that you employ.
A lot of talk, because of this, there's a lot of talk, if you want to give validity to the interwebs and the message boards and things like that, about the job that Jason Kelly has done here. Curious to what y'all think of Jason Kelly, I mean, based on the results that we can see.
Well, it's hard to judge from the outside, because I think a lot of it is what the hand he's been dealt. Like, we just talked about it. Like, there might not be another starter that is capable of replacing Shane Sadeo at this point. So, now you can start questioning, though, the way the rotation has been, and the why is there not another starter? What is why hasn't there been the development of some of these guys? Maybe you can start questioning that a little bit, but it's hard to tell of, how much of it is just kind of the hand that's dealt, how much of it is the development, how much is are they using the bullpen in the right way? But I don't think the bullpen's the problem. I think, it's just kind of, there's just not depth, it seems like.
Right. I mean, that's the fact of the matter, I think. But as much as you want to maybe talk about the decline of Shane Sadeo.
And with Sadeo too, a lot of this just might be coming off his injury.
I mean, that's
He
absolutely
hasn't pitched in meaningful games before this year in a long time.
Right.
And so I think that's the bulk of it is, had he waited another year, maybe he would kind of be more to what we were expecting to see from him.
Right.
Just might be too early.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think, obviously we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but all of a sudden you're kind of looking at next year's starting rotation and you're thinking, well, if you assume Sadeo takes a full season to get healthy and is playing again, then maybe all of a sudden you're saying, okay, well, Jason Kelly seems to be kind of cooking a little bit here. But if you get to the end of the season and let's say we host a regional and we don't get out of said regional, and maybe it's because of the pitching.
Yeah, and you guys
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to have to then probably say, okay, look, we're on the right track, but we've obviously got to fix something?
Well, you mentioned I think there's a lot to be said about the recruitment, the roster building, and putting them into this position. But you look at Shane Sadeo over here and coming off of an injury and what he did this year. And on the other hand, you have Aiden Sims, who wasn't necessarily a great arm last year, kind of got knocked around a little bit, and he has elevated his game immensely to the point where he is probably, if you're going to put the label of ace on somebody, has been their best pitcher hands down. I mean, he has a 3.6 ERA. If you look at the starting rotation, the next is Weston Moss with 5.12 and Shane Sadeo with 6.55. The other thing about Sadeo, the Auburn game was different. It was different than most of them. But the thing about Sadeo this season is he's actually produced a lot of swing and miss.
Yeah, lots of strikeouts.
He has worked his way into games. It's just been the solo home run. Really, it's something I talked last week with Ryan Prager a lot. That he believes from what he's seen of Shane Sadeo. Sadeo's had a pretty good season. If it wasn't for the solo home runs, and even he said, as a pitcher in the SEC, you're going to give up solo home runs. You just don't expect to give up like 5 or 6 solo home runs in a game. So it's like a fine line. The numbers don't necessarily dictate how fine of a line Sadeo has been between being very serviceable and not good.
Yeah. And I mean, even Freshcorn's given up some solo homers.
Yeah. And Freshcorn's another example of a guy who was shaky last year.
Right. And now he's, knock on wood, he's the guy that once he comes in out of the pen, you're like, okay, cool. We can salvage this, which he's produced a couple of stressful outings, but he's still got the
He likes to work in traffic a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? That's fine because you kind of want a head case as a pitcher, as a closer sometimes, and I think that's awesome. So yeah, when you start thinking about things like that, you're like, maybe Jason Kelly knows what he's doing and he's making lemonade out of lemons a little bit here, or I don't know. Maybe we were spoiled with the other guy whose name shall not be mentioned.
Wow.
Max Wiener.
Yeah, maybe
he is a heck of a pitcher.
He is a great pitching
and maybe
coach.
we were spoiled with him, and maybe we just need to get some flippin' dudes back in the rotation, and then see what Jason Kelly's capable of. But then but what if you waste a season by doing that?
Yeah.
So I do not envy the coaching decision that Early has to make, or personnel decision, I guess. When it comes to the end of this season, whenever that may be, hopefully it goes well into June, right? Yeah. But if we get to the end of this season and some sort of change has to be made, I think that's the first place that you look.
And it can't be it has to be stated that when Michael Early was making the pitch for this job as a first-time head coach going right into the SEC, part of that was bringing in experience around him. Yeah. And Jason Kelly left a head coaching position to come be a pitching coach at A&M. So that's kind of part of the whole conversation that we can't see on a day-to-day because we don't know how much Michael Early has gone into Jason Kelly's office to say, like, hey, how do I handle this situation? How do we think we need to do this? Because he is a guy that has head coaching experience when Michael Early doesn't. And that was a big selling point of bringing him on as the pitching coach was what he
Right.
could provide beyond just the pitching as well.
Reading the tea leaves here and predicting way too far into the future, because I guess that's just what I like to do. Apparently, kind
of your job.
What I think we see is something like we get to the supers and maybe like lose a close one or something like that, or maybe we even get to Omaha, but there's just a pitching crumbling that happens. Arms get too tired, whatever it is. Like I think we're being optimistic with both of those scenarios I just laid out, but I think we see some success, obviously beyond what we saw last season. And I think there are going to be plenty of message boarders who are quite disappointed when they see we make very little wholesale changes to staff and stuff like that. That's just the way that I see this playing out, the way that the season has gone so far. And again, we've got 2 pretty difficult series coming up. So we could be sitting here 2 weeks from now and go, okay, something obviously has to change. I don't think we will, though. I think I don't think there are going to be a whole lot of changes. Now, again, we're obviously going to try to go out and get some guys and keep the bats like rolling with a couple portable additions there, and you want to bolster up the young talent and stuff like that. But I would be pretty surprised if we see assistant changes at this point.
Yeah, I do too. I mean,
especially with the turnaround from last year. I think barring it doesn't even matter at this point the way the season ends. What they've done up to this point has already proven that they are on the right track.
It kind of. I hate to always pull football analogies out here, but I'm kind of thinking of like your Mark Snyders, your Tim DeRuyters, and even like DJ Durkin after the first like season or so. You were like, oh, we want a new defensive coordinator, but you're almost like, but look at what he's been able to do with this and stuff like that. And it's like, is that really the actual issue here? Or are you just trying to change something for the sake of changing something, right? Is it a thing where you kind of have to trust in this process that you don't know, like you said, Travis, the ins and the outs of, and you just kind of have to assume that things will continue to get better from a certain standpoint?
I think it's kind of like, and if you're going to talk about the football analogies, the fact that most of the focus gets put on the quarterback, because he's the most out there, most in the middle of everything guy. I think most of the focus gets put on the top end, the front of the rotation guy, because he is the guy that's supposed to be your first round draft pick or whatever in that. But so I think that maybe the top end of A&M's pitching staff hasn't necessarily been what they thought it has been, but I don't think you should discredit some of the improvement. I mean, you could even argue it hasn't been great, but Grant Cunningham is a better pitcher this season than he was last season. Now, it hasn't been great, but it is better. And so I think that there is levels of improvement that if those guys didn't take step-ups, it would be a very different story to even where they are now, because some of these guys didn't step. So we'll see. I think that's going to be a debate, a topic we're going to be talking about a lot throughout the rest of this baseball season. So, quick around the SEC here. It's not actually in the SEC because this was too funny. In Seattle, there was it was put on by an artist, but there was Big Ten country, Seattle, around the Big Ten. There was a funeral held for a Taco Bell that closed. Funeral for a Taco Bell. The interesting part about this is that Taco Bell actually closed 3 decades earlier. But at this funeral, there was bagpipes, there was a crying contest, a 21 bell salute, and actually a city councilman brought flowers for the Taco Bell.
Did they pour out a Baja Blast?
They should have. So what would you mourn the most from Taco Bell, and is there any local establishments that you kind of wish that a 21 bell salute would have been held for?
I still mourn the loss of the grilled stuffed burrito. And a lot of people don't really remember that item, and so I guess it makes more sense the more that I talk about it. But it was just this big burrito.
Continuing the legacy.
Yeah, it was which they have something similar. It's that like Cantina chicken burrito, and it's probably a little bit better for you. But that's what I would mourn from Taco Bell. But I'm trying to think of a local
You're
place
not
that
going to Taco Bell if you want better for you. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there.
That's another conversation we can have for another time. But I wholeheartedly disagree.
Interesting. Okay.
Every time I go to Taco Bell. Not every time. Most of the time when I go to Taco Bell, I'm pretty responsible and I can get something for like less than 700 calories. And I can't say that about other places, but
fair.
I think a local place. We were talking about this the other day, Tyler. I miss Hastings.
Yeah.
I would throw a funeral right now for Hastings.
I would too.
I miss that
What
place.
was Hastings?
Oh, it's the
kinda
media
like-
store.
It's like Blockbuster meets
right.
Blockbuster
Okay.
meets Barnes and Noble meets.
Well, they had them in
Starbucks.
Dallas.
I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
They did.
continue.
Anyway, like
There's one McKinney just.
And I happen to think that if somehow Hastings was brought back today, especially if they could tap into the vinyl and like the trendy books and stuff like that, and like Bunko Pops or whatever the heck those things are called, I think a Hastings today would be successful.
I think they could have survived had they.
Movie Training Company. That's what I'm thinking
okay.
of.
Had they,
Similar
had they
thing.
been able to see past, because obviously it was a rough go once
Right.
streaming started. And,
Yeah.
and
But
everything-
now,
everything
like
was
physical
digital.
media is cool again.
It's made a comeback. Think
Yeah.
of all the
And-
records they could sell.
Right, exactly.
If they were still open.
Like if I think you could market it to where it could work again. So yeah, that's what I would throw a funeral for.
The old
right
school
this second.
video games, big market.
Yeah,
too. Like,
absolutely. Like collectors stuff.
I-
Magic the Gathering, like from trading cards to books and coffee, like just everything. I think it could work if it was brought back today.
I mean, there's video before I got a couple months before the new Xbox came out, and I was college football game came out. I got an Xbox, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna sell my NCAA 14 because I'm gonna get this new college football game and whatever. I sold it for like $100.
Yeah.
Because
selling mine.
there's
I still
just
got
such
mine. That's a big deal.
a market
A lot
for
of
it
people
because
like
people
the
have been
old
playing
one.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But I do love Taco Bell very much. Like the Diablo sauce on pretty much everything. You could go all out and just get crazy bad for you stuff at Taco Bell, but a lot of people like to dog on Taco Bell for their like quality of food and stuff like that. But they're like, you watch the Restaurant Report Card every week, and one of the more frequent Star Plate awards you will get is from Taco Bell.
I didn't have Restaurant Report Card on my bingo card for this this podcast.
It wasn't here very long, and I don't know if either of you made it over there, but Costa Vida
Yeah.
all the time, all the time.
okay.
So good.
Yeah,
was only here for a few years,
Right.
And I think what really hurt them was the location.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because it wasn't very visible from main roads, and I don't think a lot of people knew about it because it was just a new place. It comes from like the West Coast of Utah.
You would have to have not been an Aggie sports fan because they went hard
That's
in
true.
the Aggie sports.
Well, because they were
advertising.
Aggie. It was Aggie
Yeah.
owned. It was an
Yeah.
Aggie
Yeah.
franchisee, and she's a great lady. I almost wonder if that was another thing that, and obviously you don't know what goes into all of that and business ownership and stuff, but with things being added around it now, you almost wonder if that would have
Had they
bolstered their success a
stayed,
little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, because now there's more of a reason to go over there, and
Yeah.
there's more and more subdivisions being put in there and stuff like that, and so you almost wonder if it would have been more successful now.
For me, I'd have to pour one out for Harvey Washbangers.
Oh,
yeah, that was just
Yeah.
an unfortunate
Yeah.
death.
It really
there.
was,
It
but-
It was
out of
so
their
good.
control.
Thankfully, at Stella, you can get that burger
Yes.
on occasion,
Yes.
and it is every bit as delicious as it used to be.
See, the problem though is when I go to Stella, Stella is so good.
right? It's hard to
Yeah,
Hashtag,
it's
hashtag
like-
not sponsored. Hashtag
which
sponsors.
right, right, yeah.
But there's so many other things that I want to get that are good too that I like almost don't get the burger.
I saw an Instagram post of theirs of like a bananas Foster French toast or something like that, and I'm not like a sweet dish guy, especially for breakfast, but like. I was like, maybe one Friday I'll get a whole mess of that and then just pass out for the afternoon.
Their French toast, chicken and French toast, is so because they have like a peppercorn syrup. It's so good, so good. So yeah,
Making me
Harvey
hungry.
Washbangers, we miss you as Hastings and Taco Bell. Server, thanks for joining us this week. We will be back next week. Break down all the stuff that's going on. A little bit slower weekend this week. Softball, baseball. Softball's in the SEC tournament. Baseball's
know
on
where
the
they're going
road.
next week,
We will know where softball's going. Can break that down a little bit. But things are finally. we could take a little bit of a breath. So we'll be back with whatever we got on that next week. Be sure to check KBTX.com for everything in between. So for Tyler Shaw and Max Crawford, I'm Travis Brown. This is the Aggie Game Day Extra Podcast. We'll see you next week.